Based upon my clock,
Tony Long.
You're good to go?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Based upon the clock, Jody, I have 9 a.m. Can you confirm that we may go ahead and proceed?
Yes, it's 9 o'clock. We can go. And for the folks that on the phone, Dr. Haley has joined us as well. So we've got all of the board members that are going to be present here, and we've got Bobby Stein and Dr. Faison on the WebEx.
Okay, let me call the meeting to order. Let's please bow your head for a moment of reflection. Are there any introductions that should be made today? Any visitors, public officials? Okay, I guess not. The first order of business is to adopt the agenda. Can we get a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Jody, can you give us a sunshine briefing?
I can, but on the agenda is the safety moment, but I can go ahead and do my part now. We were going to do a bit of a safety moment and briefing.
Why don't we do that first?
Go ahead and do that first.
Okay. Tony Long, excuse me.
Thank you, Chair Baker and members of the board. Before we have our safety moment, let's take a moment to recall that in the event of an emergency, make sure to call 911 and to alert others. If the emergency requires an evacuation, let's remember to use the stairwell and not the elevator. And for those in the T19 meeting area, the designated assembly location will be the Baptist parking garage, which is located at the corner of Ashley and Main Street. Make sure to pair up with your safety partner, which will be the person to your right, and be cognizant of the potential for trip hazards, as well as to use your mask in those situations where we cannot socially distance. Lastly, please remember to keep your cell phones on silent and on mute when we're not actively speaking during today's board meeting. Landon, if you would advance to the next slide. Today's safety moment is on the company's Target Zero initiative. Previous slide, please, which is a proactive strategy and a philosophy to continually improve and to prevent all injuries both on and off the job. We strongly believe here at JEA that all work-related injuries are preventable, and then we're going to do our best to communicate these safety expectations not only to the JEA employees, Chair Baker, but also to our contractors, vendors, and suppliers as part of our commitment to safety. We're going to focus on primarily eliminating, where possible, those at-risk behaviors as well as the unsafe conditions that tend to lead to the OSHA recordable injuries and our lost time accidents. And then, Chair Baker, next month's safety moment will be on fleet safety and defensive driving specifically.
Thank you, Tony. And that's my favorite
You're welcome,
slide.
Chair Baker. Real quickly, I'd like to provide an update to the board on our safety performance. As you can see here in fiscal year 20, we're coming off a record year when we're looking at our recordable incident rate. We are off to a very good start in Q2. You can see here that our recordable rate is at 0.58, Chair Baker, which is roughly around 90% below the public utilities industry average and approximately 80% below the total U.S. industry average for both the public and the private sector employers. Quick update on our lost time incident frequency rate. It's also trending favorably into the second quarter. And while the current rate of 0.28 is well below the listed industry averages here, we believe that we have considerable room for improvement as we strive to meet that Target Zero initiative and have zero lost time injuries. And then lastly, Chair Baker, before I turn it back over to you, I'd like to take a minute and recognize the Northside Generation Station team, specifically the ops team. We're very proud of them. They recently completed 3 years without an OSHA recordable injury, And we'd like to share that with the board to let them know that we're proud of them for that very noteworthy accomplishment. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, and wonderful report. We'll knock on wood and hope it keeps going. But that's a great tribute to the program and to the organization as a whole, because in my view, if you have a safe organization, you have a well-organized machine. So congratulations. Okay.
Thank you.
Jody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a public meeting that's subject to the Florida Government in the Sunshine, and the executive order that the governor had instituted a while back that did not get extended requires that we have physical presence of a quorum in the room in order to conduct this public meeting today. It has been noticed as a hybrid meeting that there is some participants of our board that are attending by WebEx. That is allowed during this pandemic time. So we do have quorum in the room. It's been duly noticed as this hybrid meeting to allow for the WebEx participation and the physical present quorum. We will take minutes and they will be published, and so we're in good order to proceed with this public meeting. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilwoman DeFore, would you like to make some comments?
Thank you, Chair Baker. Yes, just a couple of updates for the board. We've had two pieces of legislation that have touched JEA recently. One, it was a resolution that was passed by the council addressing the surface water discharge matter that's before the state legislation. We have asked, it passed the council, where we're asking the state delegation to give JEA more time to address this issue due to the excessive cost. The second piece of legislation has been addressing employee early retirement. This, as you know, was an issue for JEA. JEA has been carved out of that legislation, primarily due to the timing of employee training and the loss of expertise. The third piece of legislation is Bobby Stein. He is before us in reappointment. He is scheduled to go before the Rules Committee next week, and I don't see any issue there. Just an update, the biggest, I'm sure everyone's heard, is the Lot J matter that did not pass, and I think that didn't pass primarily for lack of information dealing with the bread box loan. And then finally, I wanted to give a special thanks to Kurt Wilson. He has been instrumental and helpful with me in dealing with the legislation, especially the resolution, and you just commend him for being a great employee. And that's all I got, and well, any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Questions? Randy, thank you for all you're doing. Those are very helpful bits of legislation. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. If there's nothing further, are there any comments from the public? Looks like none here. Landon, do we have any that have called in or any emails? Or?
Yes. Yes, sir. I'm going to go ahead and run through the overview because we do have quite a few people from the public that appears to have joined. I'm just going to take one moment to read through that. So once again, my name is Landon Todd, and for those that are new to the WebEx technology, I'm going to give a brief overview of the controls for public comments. If you are joining us via the desktop interface or a smart device, such as a smartphone or tablet, you may move around your screen and will see a series of buttons at the bottom. The very first one that you may notice looks like an icon of a microphone. Now, if it is red, it does mean you are muted and will be on mute for the majority of the meeting unless recognized to speak. Now, if you are recognized to speak or asked to provide comment, you will click on that button and it will turn green. This will mean that you are unmuted and everyone can hear you. I do ask that you use this option to mute your line when you are not speaking. This will allow us to reduce the amount of background noise and have the most productive meeting possible. Also, if you would like to see who is participating in today's meeting, now located on the right side of your screen, you will find an icon labeled Participants. If you click on that, it will bring up the participant list. If you're on a mobile device, it will pull up in front of everything, and if you joined on your desktop machine, it will come up on the right side of your screen. This will allow you to see a long list of individuals who have joined today's meeting. Now, I have enabled the chat capability. If you touch your screen or scroll next to the participant icon, you will notice an icon that looks like a caption bubble. If you click on that, it will bring up the chat window. Now, please remember that this meeting is being recorded, and I ask that you please be professional. But if you run into any difficulties, you can chat me directly, or if you'd like to provide public comments, you may do so to everyone. Now, those are the major controls of WebEx. Now, for public comments, we'll be using the raised hand feature. If you're using the WebEx client, this feature is located within the participant window I just mentioned. At the top of the list, your name will be visible, and to the right, you will notice a gray icon that looks like a hand. If you click it, it will turn blue, letting me know like you want to be recognized for comments. Now, those that have called in directly, there are 2 additional ways for you to notify me that you like to provide comment. The first is by pressing *3 on your telephone, which will activate the raised hand feature. Then you would press *6 on your telephone to unmute your line. Now, if you unmute your line this way, please state your first and last name so everyone can hear who is speaking before you proceed with your comment. Now, as we go through this meeting, I am the moderator and have the capability to mute everyone's line, but I will only do so to ensure this meeting runs smoothly. Now, for the WebEx public comment portion, I will first ask Madrika, have we received any public comments via email that need to be read into the record? Madrika?
Yes, we have.
Okay, you may go ahead and proceed.
We received a public comment from Clayton Brannon. He wanted to talk about St. Johns County reclaimed water negotiation. His public comment reads, I wish to comment on the pace of the negotiation with Northern St. Johns County to provide reclaimed water to newly developing neighborhoods along County Road 210. Home building rates have skyrocketed recently, which is great news for the area. Unfortunately, negotiations such as those with St. Johns County to provide reclaimed water to Beacon Lake neighborhood residents and others, as well as nearby commercial developments, have stalled largely due to social distancing and other complications. I know as board members that soon there will be soiled water of an amount that exceeds the local treatment and or soiled water storage capacity coming from these new residents and businesses. The usage of water reuse methods will be required to increase. I urge JEA board members and St. Johns County representatives to return to the table and ink the deal quickly to avert a crisis.
Thank you. Jay, do you have any comments on that, or is that something you would like to follow up on?
We're going to follow up with you on that, but thank you. I appreciate the public comments.
Okay, this is Lannon. I'm going to go ahead and proceed to the next portion of the public comment section. For those that are using the WebEx technology, this is your time. If you'd like to provide public comments during this meeting, you may now raise your hand or send a comment into the WebEx chat session. Okay, I do not currently see any raised hands or public comments in today's meeting. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to y'all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Landon, and thanks for that comment. The next agenda item is the CEO report. Jay Stowe.
Thank you, Chair Baker, and thank you to the board for allowing us to help work with you every day. Good morning. At the last meeting, I noted that, which was the first meeting I was here, I noted that I had been here for 15 days. I've been explaining to people over the last week or so that it feels like I've been here longer than just 2 months, really in all the good ways. I continue to meet with staff, make trips into the field to see our facilities, and I want to reiterate to the board, to the public, that we have a strong, dedicated workforce. We're in a good place, strong operationally and financially, and I want to thank the staff for their continued support of the community and the way that they are working to help make us the best utility in the country. I've got a handful of things I want to touch on today in the report. The first one is related to return to work in the headquarters building. We have a couple of issues related to our headquarters building in the short term related to COVID and longer term related to the right mix of hybrid and virtual work. We're currently planning, as you know, to stay in our COVID strategy until July, which means working from home for those that can and reporting to workplaces as we have been since the beginning of this pandemic to keep people safe. The JEA staff continuing to watch all the numbers closely as the vaccine rolls out, and we are spending time right now reconsidering what our policies related to virtual work need to look like. Later in today's meeting, we will discuss our new building and along with that, changing expectations of the workforce. I suspect that we will not return to the office in the traditional sense, but we'll end up in a hybrid arrangement to allow flexibility. This impacts the layout of the new headquarters, the decisions related to the HQ2, and has significant impacts on our policies and procedures. A lot more to come on that over the next few months. The next item I have is a customer issue that I want to share with you that while I am generally I'm optimistic and positive, we are not always right in the actions that we take. And I need to acknowledge an incident that occurred in November that involved a couple of our employees and an improper disconnect of customers' power. Without the account holder's knowledge or consent, power was disconnected late at night at the home of one of our customers. The disconnect request was made by telephone directly to a JEA employee by an ex-boyfriend of the customer who either, the ex-boyfriend either claimed to be or is an electrician. We were informed by this ex-boyfriend that the disconnection was necessary due to a fire hazard concern and needed repairs. The power was only off for a few minutes once the dispatched JEA staff member was informed by the customer that she had no knowledge of the requested disconnection and that we determined there was no fire hazard concern. We did not properly document or follow JEA existing policies and procedures for this disconnection, but we've taken appropriate personnel actions. I've reviewed the situation and have been assured, and today I'm assuring you that proper policies are in place to prevent such a disconnection in the future. In response to our customer's request, JEA has also taken the added security measure of masking her account. I want to inform the public that if they are in a domestic violence situation, they can contact JEA customer service to discuss this option. Finally, today, I'd like to issue a formal apology to our customer and be sure that you and the public know that we take our customers' privacy and safety seriously. That was an issue that should not have happened, and we are taking all the steps we need to keep it from happening. Next topic I want to briefly touch on is the septic tank phase-out program. We worked with the city, as you know, over the last few years and have put payments of $30 million into the septic tank phase-out program, along with our annual commitment of a little over $1.5 million to fund this dedicated septic tank phase-out program. The original plan for this phase was to move forward with the septic tank phase-out in 3 communities. Unfortunately, the money dedicated by the city and JEA is not enough to fund all of these areas. I've asked JEA staff to work with city staff to revisit the septic tank phase-out plan and determine a viable plan for moving forward. We can't piecemeal this project, and I hope to look forward to working with the city and our partners to have a long-term solution. Later today in the board meeting, you'll get a quarterly update on our JSEB small and emerging business status. There's a slightly different chart that dives a little deeper into the diversity associated with our JSEB projects and plans, but I've also asked our staff to develop a better strategic plan to address diversity of our suppliers outside of the JSEB program. We're working to look at our data and are committed to improving our efforts in this area. Earlier this week, there was a report that came out from the Sierra Club relative to our carbon emissions, and I want to ensure the board and reassure the board that we are continuing to look at our options as we move forward. By 2024, JEA will have reduced its carbon emissions by 60% with the closing of the St. Johns River Power Park and Plant Shear, as well as the addition of Plant Vogel and the 250 megawatts of solar in the JEA service area. We also are issuing a request for proposal to develop an integrated resource plan that will be used to determine our long-range power energy supply. The last topic I want to cover is the St. Johns River Power Park. As you're aware, we pulled the RFQ for development of SJRPP last week. This was done in order for us to have a better handle on the next appropriate steps. JEA will pursue the recommended entitlements for the property prior to release for any development. That includes additional title work, survey work, permitting, inspection work. Our direction with regard to SJRPP has not changed. Our commitment to Northeast Florida region has not changed, and we'll continue to make the best decisions moving forward for our customers related to this property and the area. And finally, at the last meeting, I told you that I was focused on 3 key areas. They remain, plus a few more as we get into the second month. First, we've already talked about COVID. We're continuing to work on the right response and plan for our water and sewer capital plan. And the final thing that I worked on is the leadership team, and we are continuing to work through the process to develop and get the right people in the right seats for the leadership team. The group of people that have been serving in the interim role for the last 9 months deserve recognition and commendation of the work that they've done to keep JEA moving forward and to help us to regain a focus on what we're supposed to be doing. And I look forward to continuing to work with them and with you to make JEA the best utility in the country. That is the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Jay. Questions?
On the disconnection, that really is very disturbing. What are we doing to make sure that that doesn't happen again? Have we added any protocols, or are we just reminding people to use the protocols that were in place? And I presume that you've disciplined the associates that were involved in that.
Right. We've taken all the appropriate internal actions that we needed to, and as far as moving forward, it's something that shouldn't have happened. That we didn't have any additional steps that should have been done. We should have followed our rules to begin with, and so we've retrained, reiterated, and worked with the staff to be sure that they know what the rules were.
Thank you.
Other questions? Well, I applaud your comment about the St. Johns River Power Park and pulling the application. That is a very, very important piece of property for JEA and for the city, and doing it right is way more important than doing it fast. And thank you for stepping in. It's hard to pull back something like that once you started, but I'm glad you did. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
If there's nothing further, we'll move to the consent agenda. The only item on the consent agenda today is the minutes of the December 15 meeting. Are there any additions or deletions? Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, they're approved. We'll now go into our board consideration items. Brian, can you start off with finance?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Chair Baker and all the board members and other representatives. We have a good report of the financial and operation reports. We'll go through finance and then electric, water, and customer group. So when we start on the financial side, JEA, I think both Jay mentioned, very strong financial foundation we have here. The sales this year on the electric system are right now forecasted to be 12.3 to 12.4 million megawatt hours, which was about 1.5% higher than next year. But it's really driven by a very strong cold December. You can note that our degree days this year are much higher than last year. And most importantly, 2% growth ongoing, almost 10,000 new customers just keep on representing the growth of Northeast Florida and Jacksonville. And the water side, on the first quarter, our sales are down 5%, and it's driven by rain days. There's 34 rain days, which is about 50% higher than a normal year. And in normal business components, when sales are down, that's not usually the best thing. But what's the driver here is rain days and less irrigation. And that's one component we want less because the use of the water supply, irrigation is not the most efficient use. So if there is any sort of lower sales being in irrigation, that's overall a good thing. But we plan on being steady about 38 billion gallons of water sales to our customers this year. And then when you look at the resultant financial metrics, both the electric and water system, on the electric, we'll highlight two things. I think on the right-hand side, there's a box that's highlighted as 7. And that's just showing that our O&M costs are expected to be $7 million higher than last year, which is about 3% higher. It's not noted in the graph because this is a year-to-year actual basis, but that's about $20 million on the budget. We are operating efficiently. Our staffing levels are lower than normal. The team is picking up any slots and work to make sure we provide superior performance to our customers. And then I think the other thing to note is in the bottom, the 205 and 205, that the capital program is targeted at 197. We might be a little bit over on the capital. Maybe some additional expenditures will be moved forward this year at 205. But the main thing, it's fully funded by current year revenues with the R&R OCO being 205. So that's really kind of highlight on the electric at this point in time. On the water side, the two main items there, we look at system sales revenues up 3%, $3 million or down, with the lower sales. It's stable. That's fine. Plus or minus a few $1 million there. It's just like I mentioned on the irrigation driving that. And really the highlight there are 3 numbers that will go counterclockwise. Don't have a circle, but our capital expenditure target is 297, the bottom left of that box. And our forecast right now is $267 million. And the funding from current year revenues is 248. So looking at funding, 90% of the current year capital X, that's a very significant funding rate. Most water utilities and wastewater utilities are not able to do that. And very strong capital. Depreciation is about $170 million. So JEA is putting in an extra $100 million assets this year than what's depreciated. So very strong capital program that Jay mentioned. Will continue to work on how to deliver and plan most effectively. On the this is the first time we presented this. It's at the end of the first quarter. JEA's first time to highlight. We presented, I think, was the September board meeting. The pay for performance initiative went through the board to get approved for next year. Just to highlight, there are 6 main performance measures or factors we utilize on this. The maximum payout is 5% of salaries. Currently, the forecast would be 3% payout based upon these 6 factors. And we'll just go through them real quick. Tony Long did a great job on safety on the Zero Initiative. And I think the comment by Chair Baker on the, well-oiled machine, safety is a leading indicator of everything. So we want to strive to be 0, but that's still very significant, exceeds performance in the safety. Customer satisfaction, it's in red. It's not where we want it to be. We know we have some challenges over the last few years and how to work on that. And Sheila Preston will briefly discuss that today in her op report in a few minutes. The cost controls, the electrics in the green, mostly driven by the lower O&M I mentioned. The water is right at budget. We're right below it, and that's a little bit lower O&M costs. And the wastewater driven by 2 factors. It's in the green. It's lower O&M costs, and then also lower capital than originally planned. So we plan on presenting this every quarter. It gets the feedback from the board and Jay, but we're planning on doing this every quarter if that works well with the board, and we'll take that feedback. The key financial metrics, really 2 things to highlight here. There's 4 main metrics: the coverage, liquidity, cash on hand, and debt to asset that rating agencies really focus on with the municipal utilities. And different components of that is a fixed charge coverage, which is a different way of looking at debt service coverage. All those are green check marks. If not into JEA's targets or well exceeded in the debt to asset is not quite to our 50% target, but the forecast is continued to improve. That number is high as 92% about 10 years ago. So at 52%, we're calling that a green check mark, and it's right there at the Moody's peer at 47% on their peer ratings. The other thing to mention, it does show our rating agency credit ratings. We are meeting with the credit rating agencies before next board meeting in mid-February. Jay and Board Chair Baker and Joe Arfano leading that effort with the Treasury, he and I. and we'll also have some senior leadership in those meetings. So we'll be able to report back next month on how those meetings went and feedback we get from the rating agencies. We look to see that being very favorable with all the changes over last year, the governance, and all these key financial metrics forecast to be very strong.
Brian,
and then another highlight that certainly will highlight with the rating agencies goes, yes, sir?
Yeah. What are you guys doing to scrub? We're spending a hell of a lot of capital right now. What are you guys doing to make sure that we're efficiently spending that money?
Bobby, we continue to work on it. It's a big opportunity. Jay mentioned that it's one of the 3 items that he has highlighted, and then there's new items. But that item is very important for community. Our capital program on the water sewer is $1.5 to $1.6 billion in the next 5 years. Electric's $1. Electric's more of a stable R&R type of program, where the new generation and renewables would be the second half of the decade. But the water sewer, Jacksonville's growing, Northeast Florida, is very important. We have the team continue to work on it. I believe that's going to be opportunity for a period of time. And it's very important to spend those funds most effectively. We did bring up to the Finance and Audit Committee and plan on coming back about capacity fees and higher costs of new expansion will drive higher capacity fee allocations, and then with the board look at adjustments related to that. So any other comments or questions on that from the board or direction?
No, I think Bobby's put his finger on it, and Jay has too. It's something we need to make absolutely sure that we're watching very closely.
Yes, sir. I think the whole team hears you. Every now and then we'll try to encourage the entire team. They're working diligently to hear that direction from the board. And then we're looking at, it's part of our financial plan. We need to make sure the funds are spent most appropriately. We are at the bottom of this, the $3.154 billion. We're already $103 million lower debt this year through the first quarter with the principal payments in October 1st. Plan on being an additional $200 million by end of this fiscal year with principal payments in April, and also about $100 million of early debt retirement this year. And that will be, under $3 billion. It was up to $6.4 billion about 10 years ago. So getting us ready for future investments into the community. The next two slides are great.
Brian,
go ahead.
Reminder to everybody that we've added Finance Committee meetings to our agenda for the coming year, because we also want to address the unhedged position and have a strategy around our hedging structures. Yes, thank you,
Finance Committee Chair Lanahan. We'll come back, I think it's March 12th, and we'll have more details on we have, $69 million in additional fixed debt, $31 million. We'll have over $100 million early debt retirement that we'll be able to report, and also have some more feedback from the board and the committee to give us a direction on that as we go forward. And the rate metrics, the electric, there's 2 IOUs that have increased as of January 1st. As noted, their rates, JEA remains stable. It's been 10 years where JEA's overbilled, 10 years and a quarter at this point, has been either lower or stable, sticking right into median, and the others keep on moving up. On the water, it's the same story, but maybe even more amplified. It's 8 years, about 8 years and a quarter with no adjustments. And I like to phrase it as moving to the left. So JEA continues to move left on this median or residential bill comparison for the Florida utilities. And so it's a good story, and it's very important. Any questions or follow-up?
Thank you, Brian.
We'll pass it on.
Ricky?
Good morning, board members. Good morning, everyone. We'll give a quick electric system update this morning. We have our scorecard showing here, and I want to draw your attention to the items that are not green. We have our outage frequency metric, which we call safety, our system average interruption frequency index, and our outage duration index, our SAIDI, which we call SAIDI, our system average interruption duration index. So the duration is red. It was a slight improvement over December. and our safety, which is our frequency metric, went up slightly. And the reason for the frequency metric going up slightly was our December 24th bad weather event. We had a very strong cold front move through the area on December 24th. This caused some tornadoes to touch down in our territory in Duval County. So we had quite a bit of problems Christmas Eve on our distribution system, and that drove our safety metric up. Our safety metric would have increased as well, however, due to the public service guidelines, we could exclude those because of tornado. It's a weather event that's allowed us to exclude those metrics from our calculation. So the safety metric actually improved slightly, but it's only because of the tornadoes that touched down, we were able to exclude those from our metric. Some of our generation fleet metrics, you see a slight increase in our E4 rate, our outage force rate on our generating units in December. Still, we're in real good shape at 1.29%, which is really below our goal. So we had some minor issues that we corrected in December. Our environmental compliance continues to do well. We had no reportable events for December. You saw the scorecard on these service metrics on our reliability. They're all pretty flat, looking pretty good going into the coming year. We're all working very hard on our safety metric. We do have some projects in place for this fiscal year, so we're looking for that to improve over the fiscal year. So we're really hopeful on that one. And our safety, we're looking for that one to improve slightly over the next few months as we get into storm season, because we have some really bad months last year. So we're really looking for some of these projects to pay off in the coming year. So from our metric standpoint, that's it for me. But have any questions for electric?
No, sir.
Hear none. Hear none. Oh, I'm sorry.
There are none. Thank you, Ricky.
Here none. We have some supplemental schedules here just for your information, and I'll turn it over to Hy.
Any questions?
Thank you, Ricky.
Supplemental schedules. Okay, Hy, okay, please tell us about water and wastewater.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'll cover the water and wastewater update. But Tony Long has covered the safety and Brian the sales forecast. And overall, we're doing well. Within the next several slides, I will cover the remaining scorecard items for the water and wastewater systems. In December, we experienced 5 unplanned water outages, which impacted 234 customers. 2 of the 5 outages were caused by third-party contractors, and the remaining 3 were leaks of our pipes and fittings. The average number of minutes of water pressure under 30 psi was 1.7. We strive to improve upon this metric by continuing to add pressure monitors throughout our system, which helps to identify the locations of poor pressure more quickly. Despite the challenges of the pandemic and the holidays, our response time to priority tickets remain relatively consistent at 69 minutes. For calendar year 2020, JEA met all requirements of the St. Johns River Water Management District's consumptive use permit. Our staff did an amazing job of balancing demands versus withdrawals of our 135 wells and 38 water treatment plants. Only one plant, to deal with 3, exceeded its allocation, and only by 2.4%. It should be noted that JEAs allow 20% exceedance per well field, provided that we stay under the overall grid limit.
Go back one, please. There are 2 boxes there. One where you talked about the water CUP limits, and then the South Grid well field allocation. Are those 2 CUPs, or is it all part of one?
It's all part of one, sir. The CUP itself has an overall limit for our entire system, which is 50.23 billion gallons for the calendar year of 2020. But within that cup, we are also limited by withdrawals from each well field. And since the South Grid is a more of a concern, that's where we face the supply issues. The bottom table highlights the critical well fields in that well field, in that grid.
Thank you.
And for December, we experienced 6 sanitary sewer overflows to the waters of the state. 3 were due to grease blockage, and 3 were due to our infrastructure failure. The average discharge was about 550 gallons, with the largest discharge 1,700 gallons. We continue to perform well regarding the total nitrogen discharge. With more rain and colder temperatures this year, we're tracking slightly higher than last year's, but should remain well below the permit limit of 683 tons. This concludes my water and wastewater updates. I'd be happy to entertain any questions. Thank you.
Questions? Sheila Presley, the customer experience.
Good morning, Chair Baker and Board of Directors. This morning, I'll share a brief update on the customer-centered activities our teams have delivered since we last met. We continue to support families and businesses that are impacted by the pandemic with flexible payment arrangements and other programs to improve affordability and continue to share information on services available through local charities. We've launched multiple initiatives this month and are communicating with our customers regularly through email, social media, bill inserts, web, and television, and most importantly, we're listening. Our customer engagement and education campaign, Do More with JEA, launched on January 12th of this year, and we're really excited about the early results. Just north of 9,000 customers have visited the microsite to learn about ways to lower their overall utility expense. We anticipate that number will grow significantly over the coming months, and will continue to engage our customers. Our customers report receiving outages or experiencing outages less often than other utilities in Florida in the J.D. Power survey, but we've also learned that we can do a better job of informing our customers when outages occur. In response to that feedback, we've launched a project to improve the timeliness and reliability of information provided. Throughout the pandemic, our community involvement activities never waver. We've just gone viral, like everyone else. Really excited to report that we're going to partner again with Junior Achievement to host Virtual Careers and Energy Week starting February 8th at 6 area high schools. JEA ambassadors will deliver virtual presentations to introduce the students to careers at JEA. They'll talk about their careers, education, and backgrounds. And the timing couldn't be more perfect because it aligns with our upcoming recruitment for the apprenticeship program. Our hope is that the information shared will be of interest to the students, and they will share that information with their friends. JEA is a great place to work. This slide captures our customer satisfaction rankings over the years, from 2014 through current, and many of our employees were serving our customers when the customer satisfaction scores were better, and they remain committed to maintaining the trust our customers have placed in us to provide safe, reliable service and a great customer experience. The next slide reflects the comparison of the survey score movement among Florida utilities during the latter part of 2020. Our scores changed most significantly, and we know that recovery may be slow, but we're committed to serving our customers with excellence every day. That concludes my report this morning. Do you have any questions or comments for me?
Questions of you, Sheila?
Just a comment. Thank you for your continued focus on customer satisfaction scores. as I've stated before, they go down very quickly, and kind of like rating agencies, they don't go up very quickly. So just keep working at it, and I know you're working hard and you're paying attention to it, so thank you.
I think there
Thank
is
you.
an incredible focus at JEA on this issue, and it will turn. But I also think we've got to, if something's not working, we can't just stick with it and hope that things get better. The excuse of that was caused by the last guys, it's a little tiresome after a while. So let's just.
Pretty soon, we are those guys.
Yeah,
We are
right.
We are those guys.
We are.
So let's have a sense of urgency about that, and we will. Next is appointment to the Civil Service Board. David Emanuel.
Thank you, Chair Baker. Good morning to you and to the board members. We have before us today a reappointment of Geraldine Lockett Jackson, Ms. Jackson, to the Civil Service Board. Per Article 17 of the Jacksonville Municipal Code, JEA makes two appointments to the 9-member Civil Service Board. Appointees are limited to 2 3-year terms. Mrs. Jackson was appointed to fill the remainder of the previous incumbent's term, which ended June 30th, 2020. Ms. Jackson is eligible for reappointment and has agreed to continue to serve. Staff recommends the board approve appointment of Mrs. Jackson to the CSB for a 3-year term.
There is a motion in your package. Is anybody willing to move it?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I think we're very lucky to have her doing that. She's obviously very, very able.
And Landon, I'm not sure, and we haven't taken a vote yet, but is Mrs. Jackson online? I think she was going to try to appear by WebEx. And in the board package, Mrs. Jackson, I had your name as Miss Lockett, but Mrs. Jackson got married and her name is now Jackson, and so there's a revised resolution once you do take the vote and approve it, that we've made the name change on the new resolution. But thank you for your service, Mrs. Jackson.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. David, would you talk about the St. John's Power Park System retirement plan?
Thank you, Chairman Baker. Amendment 3 to the 2015 restated plan of our SJRPP System Employees Retirement Plan. What we've got is a compliance amendment that meets and sets from the Setting Every Community Up for Retirement, the Secure Act of 2019. And really what you have is an age change in terms of access. The amendment has no measurable actuarial cost to the plan, and it is us remaining in compliance. And we recommend that the board approve the proposed compliance amendment number 3 and authorize JEA's managing director to execute implementing documents.
Amendment 3 is in your package, and there is a motion. Would anybody care to make it?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. The next subject is a property purchase for an electric substation. Jay, we have a memo from you. Are you going to present this to us?
No, sir. I'm gonna let Alan McElroy and Jordan Pope take that one.
Great.
Okay. Well, good morning, Chair Baker and board members. Jordan Pope, our Director of Real Estate Services, will be presenting these action items for today, and so I'll just turn it over to Jordan right now.
Thank you, Alan. Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members.
This item is the proposed purchase of 10.5 acres of real property for a new electric substation near the Mayo Clinic campus. JEA's existing San Pablo substation is reaching its system capacity and is land constrained. This acquisition will allow for the construction of the new substation to provide for JEA's continued electric system growth and reliability. JEA and the seller, Estuary LLC, have agreed to a purchase price of $5,250,000, and JEA's current appraisal reflects a value of $5,481,000. It is recommended that the board approve the land purchase as outlined in Resolution 2021-03 for the new electric substation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Jordan, looking at the map or the aerial that was the previous slide, it looks like the entire property is wetlands. Is that accurate?
No, sir, it is not. We've done the wetlands analysis on this and determined it's sufficient for our purposes for the substation.
And it is, in fact, the deal is just slightly below the appraised value. It's expensive land, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
Can we get a motion to approve?
For the appraised value.
Yeah, can I just make a point? Jordan, it's really hard for me to discern in my business whether I have a relationship with anybody who's a principal for this LLC. So I just want to make a statement that I'm not aware of any conflict for me. You know, I don't know if I do business with the partners of Estuary LLC.
It's the Park Group. It's Roger Osteen, I think.
Yeah, I just want.
That's correct.
I think in the future I'll just say there are no known conflicts because it's hard. I don't know who all of our clients are.
Okay. Can we have a motion to approve it?
Move the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We have another piece of property. Jordan, are you going to present this to us as well?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This next item is the proposed purchase of real property for a future wastewater treatment plant. The parcel is located immediately north of the larger Jacksonville International Airport parcel along an extension of Arnold Road, which is currently under construction. In discussion with JEA's planning groups, it was determined that the parcel is also well positioned for a future electric substation and associated facilities as the need arises. The next map provides a snapshot of other parcels JEA has considered for the utility site. They are noted by the different colors, which outline the parcels, including unimproved lands on the northerly portion of the Jacksonville International Airport, just north of the runways there. Due to FAA regulations, JEA determined that that site presented some challenges and ultimately landed on the site with the blue outline on this map labeled Proposed JEA Parcel. JEA's current appraisal on the subject property is $5,940,000, and negotiated amount has been reached of $5,733,091. The seller has made it clear that the proposed acquisition is conditioned on JEA's successful negotiation of an access parcel from Lauren Street LLC. That parcel is noted on the previous map. It's hatched in blue and would provide access, the site with access to the future Arnold Road. JEA has had and continues to have discussions with Lauren Street LLC on the proposed access route. It is recommended that the board approve the purchase as outlined in Resolution 2021-04, which will authorize staff to execute the purchase agreement should negotiations prove successful. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Will someone make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Finally, we have a property sale at the Cecil Commerce Center. Jordan?
Yes, sir. Thank you again, Mr. Chair. JEA owns a 306-acre multi-use parcel at Cecil Commerce Center with utility functions including an electric substation and water treatment plant. In 2020, the City of Jacksonville's Office of Economic Development in JAX USA inquired about the availability of a 16-acre portion of the site for a proposed expansion of a FedEx facility at Cecil Commerce Center. JEA has determined that a 16-acre portion can be sold without impairing JEA's operation. That would help facilitate the creation of approximately 145 jobs with a capital investment of approximately $10 million. JEA's appraisal of the 16-acre parcel value of $1,742,400. Because the JEA Real Estate Services Procurement Directive only provides for a sealed bid process or public auction for the sale of property with a value greater than $50,000, the board would need to waive conflicting provisions of the procurement directive and authorize negotiations directly with SunCap Property Group, LLC, which is the buyer and land developer for the proposed project. It is recommended that the board approve the sale of real property as outlined in Resolution 2021-05, and I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
I'm confused. Go back to that map, please, the aerial. Is the green the property we're selling?
Mr. Chair, the green or conservation easement placed on the property some time ago. The property that we are proposing to sell is the red outline there. Proposed surplus parcel 16 acres.
Yeah, at the bottom, below the road.
Okay, I couldn't read that. And why does that, I mean, is this supposed to be in conjunction with the FedEx building? It looks like it's a long way away from it.
No, sir. Well, the proposed use is a parking facility. And so this would be for the vehicles and so forth that would be doing the distributing in association with the FedEx facility that already exists at Cecil Commerce Center.
Okay. Any questions? Can we have a motion to approve?
Move the motion.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, it passes. And now,
Thank you,
Alan,
Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Jordan. Alan, are you going to walk us through the headquarters discussion?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair Baker. This morning, I would like to share with you where we are internally with the headquarters interior design and the impacts on our path moving forward. Our memo for this presentation is in the board package and provides an update on our new corporate headquarters and the activities that Ryan Companies has been doing. As we witnessed, workplace staffing trends have significantly changed over the past 11 months. Our JEA workforce has adapted to modified work arrangements and assignments while continuing to provide excellent service to our customers. With the reduction in size of the headquarters in May of last year and the pursuit of a second hardened facility, we received your approval to proceed with the purchase of the La Villa property downtown. We are currently performing our due diligence on the property prior to closing on the purchase. With the changes occurring across the country and workplace staffing trends, the JEA staff is placing a pause in our forward progress as we thoroughly vet the various workplace models to determine the right one for JEA. Nancy Kilgo is leading an effort to reevaluate our internal data and compare it to the national or the nationwide trends. She has been working with CBRE to obtain key information on these trends that will ultimately impact the interior design of our headquarters. The current direction appears to be a hybrid work model where employees can work both remotely and in the office. Surveys have been sent to all of the JEA business units this week to update our data. Depending on the outcome of this reevaluation of a different work model, our approach to the second hardened facility may be impacted. Therefore, we're recommending a three-pronged approach for this review. The first step of this, our approach is the purchase of the property. We will proceed with the purchase of the property upon satisfactory completion of the due diligence. The second step is pause. As we work through our examination of the data from the surveys with assistance from CBRE, we will pause on the design build RFP for the second hardened facility. We will use this time, however, to consider all options for the location and requirements of our emergency operations center. And our final step is the plan. We will proceed with developing plans to implement our workforce staffing model for our current facilities in the event we proceed with our return to work date sometime this year. In addition to the physical return to work plans, we will focus on our policies, procedures, and work practices that will be needed to guide our company into this new environment. When our facility plans are completed, we will come back to the board with our recommendation. I'll be glad to entertain any questions that you may have about our approach and how we are dealing with this change in the workplace strategy.
So
I think this is very thoughtful. Yeah. I give you guys a lot of credit for doing this.
Yeah, so my question,
Thank you.
which I think you've answered, is, so you believe we still need the location and the site, but what we will do with it and our scale may look different?
Yes, sir. We have other alternative options that the property can, the La Villa property that can be used for. We have a Church Street substation that is there, and therefore we have property that's available to the west, the east parcel, that we can expand the substation if needed, if the growth load and everything is there in that area. Additionally, it provides a great buffer for the substation.
Thank you.
It's an expensive
You're welcome.
buffer.
Yeah.
I think, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, or Jay, correct me if I'm wrong. We've had difficulty finding a good site for this place, and I think the staff is loath to let it go. And we probably will need it, but we might not. And maybe under normal circumstances, you'd say, well, we'll spend the money when we need it. But I think what they're telling us is that they feel like it would be hard to replace, and that it's the better part of valor to go forth with it. There's no action required.
Mr. Chair, I want to reiterate that really that is we don't have all of the information to move forward with this, and we feel like that having this keeps all of our options open, and so yes, the better part of valor. We'll go with that as our as the statement. I think it gives us the most options moving forward.
And I would hope if it appears that we don't need it, then we'll sell it, and we'll move on, and not just keep it as honor of a mistake. Okay. Alan, can you give us the JSEB quarterly report, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you again, Chair Baker. I'm proud to be here today to not only share our results of the first quarter of the JSEB program, but also to introduce our JSEB manager, Rita Scott. Rita's been overseeing the JSEB program since 2017, and she is doing an outstanding job. Rita will be sharing our first quarter results, the specifics on our first quarter results. So I'll turn it over to Rita.
Excuse me. Thank you, Alan, and good morning, Chair Baker and board members. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about our JSEB program here at JEA. The JSEB program was established by the City of Jacksonville in 2004. JEA has participated in the program since its inception. The City Ordinance 204-602-E governs the JSEB program and requires city agencies to allocate 20% of their available spend with JSEB certified firms. The City of Jacksonville is the administrator of the JSEB program, and works with small businesses to become certified. The application can be found online, and all local small businesses are encouraged to apply. The number of JSUB vendors in the program fluctuates over time. However, we currently have 293 certified JSUB vendors. Here at JEA, we're always looking for ways to increase our JSUB opportunities. Over the past 5 years, we have successfully managed to increase the JSUB goal and actual spend. We do this by offering sheltered markets for JSUB companies in the areas of concrete services, janitorial services, and landscaping services. We also set JSUB goals for subcontracting opportunities, as well as establish RFP evaluation criteria favoring JSUB companies. Moving on to our JSUB scorecard. To assist in tracking our JSUB goal and actual spend, I developed this JSUB scorecard. The JSUB spend is the amount that is actually paid to our JSUB vendors, either as a prime or subcontractor. If the JSUB vendor is a prime, the spend information is pulled directly from our Oracle system. If the JSUB vendor is a subcontractor, this information is provided by the prime vendor directly to me via a report on a monthly basis. I manually pull together all of the data in a spreadsheet and update the scorecard each month to see how we are progressing against our goal. For fiscal year 21, our available spend is $90 million. We determine the available spend by reviewing all of the projects for the fiscal year and identifying the areas of opportunity where we think we can have JSUB participation. Each year, we strive to get 20% of our available spend for our JSUB vendors. Our target JSUB goal for this year is to achieve $18 million. As of first quarter, we've made significant progress towards meeting the JSUB goal. As you can see to date, we have achieved 23% of the goal, or $4.1 million in the actual spend to our JSUB vendors. To further break down this number, the prime versus subcontractor spend, prime vendors is $2 million, subcontractor vendors $2.1 million. This represents approximately a 50-50 split of the actual JSUB spend. Each year, the number of JSUB vendors we work with will vary depending on the number of active projects we have going on. However, as of first quarter, we are currently working with 72 JSUB vendors, of which are 32 are prime vendors. The JSUB vendors we currently do business with is quite diverse. The bottom chart provides a breakdown by small business type and the number of vendors in each category. Over half of the JSUB spend is with women-owned businesses. Another metric we track on the JSUB scorecard is the number of contracts awarded to our JSUB vendors. These contracts could be either a prime or a subcontractor opportunity. As contracts are awarded to a JSUB vendor or have a JSUB goal associated with them, they will be captured on this report. As of first quarter, 30 contracts have been awarded to JSUB vendors, all of which are subcontracting opportunities. The value of these projects totals $7.1 million, which will be realized over a 1 to 5 year time frame, depending on the contract term. Most of the contracts awarded fall within our facilities and our water wastewater categories. The chart illustrates the number of contract award types, also known as procurement methods, that was used for each contract award. Now, in terms of our JSUB outreach, throughout the fiscal year, JEA participates in various small business events. With COVID-19, several of these events have either been canceled or held virtually. For the first quarter, we participated in the following events. In October, I attended the Small Business Partner Meeting hosted by the Florida Small Business Development Center at UNF. This meeting was focused on bringing together various local small business partners to share information and exchange ideas regarding small business issues and needs. In November, I attended the JSUB Special Committee meeting hosted by Councilwoman Jacoby Pittman. I was invited to present on JEA's JSUB program. This committee is focused on making changes and improvements to the existing JSUB program, as well as updating the city ordinance. Lastly, every month I host a Doing Business with JEA workshop. This workshop is designed to educate companies that are interested in working with JEA. It's open to JSUB vendors, prime vendors, and any business that wants to learn how to do business with JEA. The workshop is held the third Thursday of the month at 3 p.m. via WebEx. The link can be found on the JEA website calendar. In closing, JEA is constantly looking for ways to grow the JSUB program, and we do our best to stay engaged with the community by attending events for small businesses. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rita. Questions?
You know, quick question. So the data in aggregate are excellent. I really appreciate the report. I wonder if in subsequent meetings where we have these quarterly reports, if it would be possible to spotlight the story of one or two of these small and emerging businesses. I mean, this is such a great story. I think we could go even deeper if we kind of understood the business, the owner, the contribution they're making, what the difference it's making for their business. Just something to take this kind of even to a little more visceral level.
It's a good idea. I like that.
Great idea. And Jay mentioned it in his opening remarks that we're going to take the JSEB initiative and put a special focus on African American companies because we've done a great job overall, but it doesn't look as nearly representative as it should be for those companies. And so that was Jay's thought, and I wholeheartedly approve it, and I hope you all do as well.
It's a wonderful program for me personally, just to see faces and names and hear just a little bit more about stories would make it even more special.
Super. Okay, next on the agenda are board and committee reports. Jody, it says none. We had a nominating committee. Is that for next time?
Yes, sir. So the nominating committee did meet about the slate of officers to be presented, but our bylaws require that the officers be elected in March. And so we've deferred the committee report out to the March meeting, at which time the slate of officers would be offered from that committee meeting's work to the board in March, and the election occur in March.
Okay, okay.
And hopefully Bobby's legislation will have gone passed through at the same time.
Right. It will. Okay, other business, is there any old business? Or other new business?
If I could, Chair Baker, and this is sort of unfiltered, but anyway, yesterday I did a virtual meeting with the APPA Policymakers Committee, and it's really a prelude to, in March, they're going to have their legislative rally in Washington, D.C. And so anyway, the idea here is sort of where APPA is looking at congressional engagement, et cetera, on things to focus on. And this is just what they're seeing with the new administration already. Environmental stewardship is going to be significant. That's no surprise. With that, though, is they're looking at working with Congress to allow public power utilities to get tax credits for renewables, et cetera, which currently right now public power utilities do not get. So looks sort of promising. Second thing is on bonds modernization. APPA is optimistic that advance refunding will be restored, and also increasing small issuance acceptance thresholds from 10 million to 30 million, thereby facilitating smaller banks to issue bonds. Again, not sure what the effect is for JEA on that is, but anyway, it looks like more opportunity potentially for smaller banks to play into the game on that. And then lastly, just a lot of Clean Power Act, Clean Futures Act, et cetera, acts that have been in existence for a while, of sort of resurrecting them again, and also some milestones being moved up, like net zero milestone moving up from 2050 to 2035. So more to follow. There'll be a couple more meetings on this before the 1 March session, but just to give a heads up of sort of where this is headed.
2035 is a scary
Yes,
date.
yeah. And again, and more to follow, but you can put benchmarks out there, but what's the technical feasibility, et cetera, on that? What analysis has been done, but, more to follow.
Thank you. Any open discussion?
Look forward to getting rating agency feedback. Good luck on that visit.
Yeah.
Me too. They were very skeptical when we met last time, for some reason.
I think that's the frame they operate off of in general.
That's right. I have no chair report, and so if there's no announcements that need to be made or other discussion, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.